This is the 203rd Taiku in the Babylonian Talmud. It appears in Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 47a, as yesterday. There's two. This is another. There's another Taiku. I think the one before this is also on 47a. That is highly significant, and I think it's important now to mention the dates because things are starting to. Maybe the words converge, or there's some kind of a synchronicity or a singularity happening here, and it's very interesting. Just to reference something I referenced in my series on the PL89 Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar, and now they're crossing. Whenever they're connected and it's relevant, I will reference things that I've referenced in the PL89 for the Taikus and vice versa, and even Daf Yomi. They're all basically different facets of the same thing, ultimately. Today, I watched a video on YouTube of a lecture given by Rabbi Daniel Gladstein, and he was in Jerusalem, or he was in Jerusalem at least a few days ago, maybe now as well, but he was giving a lecture in the Yeshuan synagogue, and he mentioned a certain piece of the Talmud. It came from Tractate Shabbat 31a, and that was the same piece that I had referenced 2 years ago when we met at a Friday night. It was not at a meal, actually. It was after the meal. It was kind of a get together, kind of like a Friday night, kind of an Oneg Shabbos kind of a thing. And so anyway, my point here is that there was a Kabbalistic book that I looked at a couple of years ago, and it fascinated me because this particular Mekubal, this Kabbalist, I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Rabbi Yehuda Pataya, but maybe not. But he had a very interesting way of in the book that he wrote, the Sefer, the book that he wrote. I saw a bunch of names of different rabbis from the Talmud and the Mishnah, and I just saw a bunch of gematrias of the numerical equivalents of the rabbis' names, like Rabbi Yossi Aglili equals 386, Rabbi Akiva equals whatever, like etc. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi equals this, and I see a bunch of numerical values that all are equal to all the Tanaim, these Tanaic rabbis in the Mishnah. And I thought, why would you need a numerical value of a rabbi's name? And I'm seeing now how deep that is, that you can find tremendous connections by doing that. And if you just do it enough, you start to see some incredible things. So anyway, from that idea, I started doing that. And there's sometimes a lot of standard names like Abaya and Rava in the Gemara, but there's also some very unusual names sometimes. Like, just thinking, for example, I think Rav Hanan HaMitzri, the Hanan the Egyptian, I don't know, that might come out. It's not very common, but he shows up once in a while. But there are some Amoraim that literally are one-timers. Like they after 15 minutes of fame, I think there's someone named Rabbi Eliezer Nuyota, right? Nun, Vav, Taf, Aleph, Hey, something like that. And the person giving the shir said, this is the only time he shows up in Shas. This is his 15 minutes of fame, like they say. So, and it was in Gittin somewhere. Gittin 50, maybe? Something like that. Rabbi Eliezer Nuyota said something, and that he made it into Shas, the Shas Hall of Fame. The Shas, the many hundreds of Amoraim that are there. Some show up more often than others. Like you have your standards, your staple. Like you'll always see these names: Rabbi, Rava, Rav Shmuel, Rabba, Rav Yosef, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, and even ones that show up list, but still pretty common. Rav Ada bar Ahava, Rav Acha, Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Rav Eliezer, Rav Elazar, Rav Huna, Rav Ashi. These you see all the time. Rav Papa, you see these all the time. Like, you can't go a few pages without seeing their names. And there's some that are just like you don't know how they got there. Like it's you don't even know it's a name sometimes. Like it's I mean there's one that shows up. I'm trying to remember in Tractate Shabbat, but maybe he shows up other places. But he's very rare. His name is Moonbaz. Does that sound familiar to you? Moonbaz? Moonbaz, I read up on the secular history. Moonbaz, I think, was just a Persian king or something. And he converted. And he made his way into, maybe not Persian, maybe, I'm not sure, but he was I think he was a convert. And somehow, he was able to make it to the ranks of, to make it into the Talmud. I don't know how that happened, but, maybe they didn't discriminate. Maybe whoever was learning and had something to contribute, you didn't have to be such a big person. You could be considered an Amora as long as you lived at that time, in the Amoraic period. It'd be interesting to find out what classified you as an Amora. Who established? Was there some kind of smicha program that you needed to become an Amora, or because I see a lot of I made okay. There's one I saw recently in Zavachim, and as far as I remember, I haven't seen him ever show. Rab Levi, not Levi. You have Rav and you have Levi pretty often, but it's Levi. You ever seen Levi? I mean, outside of Zvachim, I can't remember any Levi. Maybe I skipped a lot of Daf and Yivamos, maybe he shows up there. But anyway, my point is that the gematria of Rava is 203. I didn't even start the Taiku yet. My goodness, where are we? Okay. Rava equals 203, and this is the 203rd Taiku today. And today it's an Avodah Zarah 47, and yesterday it was also 47, and in my special count of the 72 names was also the average value was 47. So things are lining up. But anyway, getting to the actual material on hand. So it's in Tractate Avodah Zarah, page 47a, with the words Ali ben Ahmad de Amar, Ikar Shira Mechli Loti Bayalach de Vadai Asir, according to the opinion of the one who says that the primary element of song in the temple is the accompaniment by musical instruments. Oh, I remember this. It's like, is the main thing a song, or is the main thing the musical instruments? So there's a question of what's the primary element of song in the temple. Was it musical instruments? It was basically a symphony orchestra, and you had some singers. Or was it, these are the singers, and they were accompanied by musical instruments? Remember this bring me back. Okay, so according to the opinion of the one who says that the primary element of song in the temple is the accompaniment by musical instruments, do not raise a dilemma, as it is certain that use of a worshipped animal is prohibited, because the musical instruments are items used to facilitate an offering. Use of a worshipped animal is prohibited. I guess if the musical instruments were going, that's the main thing that makes it prohibited. Okay. Kiti boyalach, when should you ask? When do you have a question? Ali b'damanda amar ikar shira b'peh. B'peh b'som kala be'alma u'dimasnisan o'dilma afilu haki asir tegu. When should you raise this dilemma? Raise it according to the opinion of the one who says that the primary element of song in the temple is singing with the mouth, and that the musical instruments are used merely to sweeten the sound, to accompany and to enhance the singing. And accordingly, one can bring musical instruments, Can one bring musical instruments made of a worshipped animal's parts? It's very interesting. What if there was a drum made from skin of a hide of a cow that was worshipped? Can you do that? Can you bring musical instruments made of worshipped animals' parts, and they are not an essential element of the temple service? Or perhaps it is nevertheless forbidden, since it's repulsive to use such instruments in the course of a temple service. So can you bring musical instruments of worshipped animals' parts? So if you think that it's mainly the singers, so then not a big deal. It's not the main thing. The main thing is the singers, not the musical instruments. Or perhaps maybe you shouldn't use them anyway because it's repulsive to use such instruments in the course of a temple service. The Gemara concludes, the question shall stand unresolved. We must wait until the coming of Messiah, the son of David and the son of Joseph. Elijah the prophet shall herald his arrival, and then we can get the answer by Elijah. By Elijah. Is that a question? For me, it's a question. Why Elijah? When Messiah comes, why is Messiah not answering it? So that's my own personal take. But anyway, that is the 203rd take in the Babylonian Talmud. I actually remember this one from back in the summer. We were doing Avodah Zarah. Doing Avodah. That's a big joke in that thing here. We were learning Avodah Zarah in the summer. Anyway, it's past summer, 2025.